Men of Reddit, what's your creepy girl story? Once, an acquaintance added me on FB. When I clicked on her profile, it said she was in a relationship with someone. That someone was a fake account of me with my picture. Oh man, that's fucked up. I was in New Orleans watching some street performers go crazy and a mom came up behind me and fully grabbed both of my ass cheeks. I was 18 and standing next to both of my parents and she said, "Hey, you remind me of my son," which is probably one of the weirdest things to say in that moment. I wouldn't want to be her kid, if she's the kind of mom to full-on grab her son's ass like that. In a public place, no less. She befriended my younger sister just to get her to ask her to a sleepover. I woke up in the middle of the night with her laying in bed with me. I was 17. Oh. She was 13. I know the majority of abuse happens when men assault young women. But people like to pretend that young girls don't have sexual motive or agency. I cringe when I think of the sexy things I used to do at 13 to get a guy's attention. I had a crush on my dad's friend's son. He was 16 or 17. I'd do the whole lean over with a low-cut top thing. I'd brush my ass against him in the hallway. One time I just fucking ran and tackled him over the couch. I was going to play it off as play wrestling greater than _ lesbian. The worst I ever witnessed was at a barbecue party one of my girlfriend's parents had. We were about 15 at the time and one of our friends decided to unilaterally sit in the lap of this boy. He looked pretty cool with it and it only raised a few eyebrows. But she kept sitting there, talking to him, with her back turned. Weird. And the kitchen slowly cleared out. It was just me, the girl whose parents were hosting the party, and the guy and our girlfriend on his lap. She started grinding on him so hard that people from the patio could see. And he just had his hands out wide like, "I'm not doing anything." Poor guy was like 18 or 19 and obviously shy around girls. See, he didn't know how to say no. In elementary school I would meow at boys I liked because I thought it was sexy face with hand over mouth. Edit: no, I'm not Maureen LMAO and unfortunately I don't get the reference. Also, I would do a hand motion like I was swatting my claws at them and swing my hips in a super exaggerated way as I walked past. Thanks for the awards. Almost this exact thing happened to me. Except it was the daytime and the offender was my parents' cleaning lady's kid. She was 13 or 14 and I was 18. She would try to wrestle with me every goddamn time she showed up. And every goddamn time I had to pry her off. I found out later that she had told everyone at her school that we had sex. So that was fun. Girl in my dorm is sure she had a crush on my roommate. My roommate clearly didn't like and told her several times. Things got out of hand and there were times where my roommate would come running back to the room, yelling, "Lock the door! Lock the door!" And moments later the girl and her friend would try to come barge in without permission. What's creepy is this next part. Apparently one night, we accidentally left our room unlocked and she decided to sneak in and rub our heads. We didn't wake up but her roommate told us what she did a couple days later. I haven't seen her in about a year and I'm quite glad. She rubs your head softer now. This younger girl who I never even spoke to once in high school had a crush on me. I got a note from her in my locker asking if I wanted to go out with her. I had no idea of how to get it back to her. So I just wrote no and taped it to my locker. Then she started following me everywhere. I would try to talk to her, but she would just keep walking away, pretending I wasn't talking to her. This goes on for like 2 years. Then I was hanging out by myself one day around the neighborhood, and she comes walking up with 3 guys who wanted to kick my ass for some dumb unrelated stuff. She somehow found out about it and brought them to me. After an embarrassing scene with me diffusing the situation with these angry gentlemen, they leave, and she finally sits down on the curb right next to me and starts flirting. All I could do was just stare at her enormous bangs with a WTF expression until she got embarrassed and left. She was our panga vampire dude. Could have shown her your main vein. Lol. I've got two. First one was when I was 15. I was walking past my school and about to cross the road when a trio of drunk women in their 40s or 50s started hassling me about how good I looked, pressing me in against the wall and surrounded me so that I couldn't get out and holding me back while they copped feels. Not a fun experience, especially when you can't even tell people about it or how creeped out it's left you, because as a guy, you should somehow be proud when women 3 times your age are grabbing your cock through your trousers against your will. The other one was about 4 years ago. I was 22 and asked a girl I'd met out. She seemed nice at first, met her in a little cafe while I was waiting to meet some friends, and we got talking about Pokemon and some other stuff for 20 or 30 minutes before adding each other on Facebook. Only weird thing was that in that time she told me she'd been raped by her ex. I thought maybe she was just being open about it as a way of dealing with the trauma, so I let it slide and messaged her a bit later to see if she'd be interested in a date. She told me that she already had a boyfriend but that she'd love to hang out as friends, which was fair enough, so I agreed to that and we met up a few days later. She'd brought her boyfriend with her, which I expected. I got the sense he wasn't too comfortable with me, which I can understand, but what threw me was she also brought her ex. I can't 100% say it was the same ex she'd mentioned, but he really gave off that vibe with the way he talked and behaved around her. She kept on talking about dead babies and abortions obsessively as well. You couldn't change the subject at all. Creeped me the hell out, so I just sat there with a smile and acted civil while internally going, please don't kill me. And I haven't spoken to her since. Greater than not a fun experience, especially when you can't even tell people about it or how creeped out it's left you, because as a guy, you should somehow be proud when women 3 times your age are grabbing your cock through your trousers against your will. Yes, you can. Don't let BS societal norms stop you. I hate to say it, man, but it's a lot harder to talk about that kind of stuff for guys. Only experience I have is a buddy of mine went down to New York City to this weird costume party. He ended up getting tied up and raped by this big woman who was feeding them shots. He was super drunk and admittedly a small guy, he couldn't stop it. He was confiding this in me and 2 other mutual friends, and one of the other guys said, dude, did you come? He responded very skeptically, yes. The other 2 guys immediately started laughing and saying, if you came it wasn't rape. This shit still pisses me off to this day, and I don't really talk to any of them anymore, but I remember trying to support my friend and argue with them, but it just seemed pointless. The poor guy felt ashamed and just stopped talking about it after. I was bored once at a small local festival and didn't want to be there, so I just got a drink and started walking around aimlessly when I noticed a fire breather. The display was interesting and she was pretty hot. When she was on break, she went to get a drink and we started talking. She seemed nice. We had a laugh, but her break was up and she resumed her display, so I left her to it and continued to wander around. 5 minutes later, security was called to her display. Turns out some crazy girl whom I had never met before was following me around the festival and assaulted the fire breather. She had claimed that me and Crazy, were together and fire breather was trying to break us up. Hey, she was hot. Not a guy myself, but one I dated had a couple fun stories. One was a girl he got set up with by friends on a blind date. As they went out to dinner, they passed a jewelry store, and she insisted on going in so they could pick out rings for when they get engaged. He paid for dinner and no paid right out. The second one went better until he took her back to her place, where she went to the kitchen, pulled the nice big, sharp chef's knife, and told him he was staying the night. He said, I did what any red-blooded American male would do. Agreed, but said I needed to go to the bathroom, where I promptly crawled out the window and never saw her again. greater than I did what any red-blooded American male would do. Agreed, but said I needed to go to the bathroom, where I promptly crawled out the window and never saw her again. My man. Dude knows how it is. That's fucking terrifying. She attempted to kidnap and probably rape him in knife point. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.